It's the Golden Week Show. That's Jess.
And that's Sasha.
And we are live on idobi radio on a Monday, which is when we are always on for the past 6 years. Let's talk about a bunch of weird things today. Weird, counterintuitive, cool nerd week things, because we don't usually talk about like tolerance breaks or kind of like stoner etiquette, but like in a way that like we're rethinking our life. But I am trying to get pregnant, so I will eventually have to stop smoking, I presume. Unless some breakthrough research comes out, or I hear that there's not going to be a social worker who shows up at my birth with, questions. So I will probably have to stop smoking. And so I'm trying to cut down now because I smoke like 4 joints a day, like that's a conservative day. I feel like 4 joints is probably right? It's probably what I smoke.
Yeah. Easily probably close to an eighth.
A day. Yeah. Well, because you're always picking up for me. I definitely, like every couple of days, I'm like, give me the high piece. So instead of
and edibles.
Well, for edibles too, I haven't taken any edibles since like last week, I guess. Yeah. Right.
No, I think so. I found one in your car, and I ate it immediately.
I was like, just eat it, just take it. Like, get out of my sight.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just, and we'll talk more about that, like as my journey continues. Because it's just so weird. The stuff we're going to talk about today will show you how weird weed is. Like, there's such a stigma. There's also such a misunderstanding. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And for pregnant people, it's always kind of, you just want to be safe. You don't want to, have a kid and then something's weird and you'd be like, oh, was it the weed I smoked? You don't want that. You just don't.
Yeah, you don't want that in the back of your head for the next 18 to 25 years.
You just don't. And it's easier. That's the cool thing about weed is even though it is a psychological addiction, it's also very manageable to take a tolerance break. So we're going to start to say before. I'm moving from 4 joints a day to just a couple bowls, which is bowls from this bubbler that I'm showing. If you're watching us on YouTube, I asked TS to get me just like an eighth because I'm weaning myself off, and he got me a quote unquote bitchin' bubbler, and that's what this is. It's bitchin' as fuck. It's really great. It's like industrial, and I love it. And I smoking out of glass is a different experience than smoking out of a joint. Obviously, it's less, you're consuming less weed for the most part. Right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Even if you smoke like a bunch of bowls, it's still probably less because a joint's like, gram and a half.
Roll big joints.
Yeah.
So, got that it's a nice heavy bubbler, fits nice and you're perfectly in your hand.
I love it. It's wonderful. And we're smoking some Zanana. And it's interesting because I've been seeing a lot of things like all over my TikTok. There's people saying, and they're For You pages, that they are, or on my For You page, that they are taking a tolerance break. I sent you Kevin Smith's post not too long ago. He posted something, I don't know if it was like the anniversary of his heart attack or something, and he was like, I'm 5 weeks sober from weed and I feel more clear and grounded than I've ever felt. And I've been seeing people kind of say that, like, I want to take a tolerance break because, and for one reason or another, like, I think a lot of these kids are taking tolerance breaks because the THC percentage is quite high on a lot of weed now, out here anyway. And your tolerance just goes through the roof. So you're smoking and you're smoking, you're not feeling anything. I don't think kids like that. I don't think that that's doing it for the newer generation of weed. It's not doing it. It doesn't do it for me either. Like, I love when I take a little break or when I only smoke a couple times a day, like past couple days. And I feel that first time first time high goodness, like, or if you don't smoke until too late or really late in the day, kind of like that first hit. And we're talking like, okay, we're talking us. Most people don't smoke when they wake up, but a lot of people do. A lot of people do. It's medicine, or or whatever it is. At the end of the day, you're smoking because you want to, and it's. We'll talk about whether or not there's health repercussions at the end of the show when we huff and puff. But it's, I think the good thing about weed is that, like I said before, even though it's a psychological addiction, your body tells you when you're smoking weed and it's not doing anything for you. Your lungs just hurt. You're not high. You probably have a headache. If you want to give it a minute, you'll go through withdrawal. I am not going to say that's what we're going to talk about, is how to take a decent tolerant break.
Well, scientists don't fully understand what's happening when we experience this. They're saying that with chronic cannabis use, that your THC receptors in your brain actually diminish over time.
With chronic use. So does that mean that's why we're getting? So we're not getting
the desired effect.
Yeah. So that's basically the quote unquote like addiction to it. Well, and the withdrawal symptoms, but like once you use so much THC,
you're just so saturated that your receptors
and that
are
happens
responding.
Like with the high percentage of THC. It happens with dabbing. It happens with edibles. If you take too many edibles, like I know that if I take. If I'm upping my edible dosage by the day and I notice that I have to stop. Like, I'm just like, okay, calm down, because you're not going to be able to feel anything.
I did notice it when I was dabbing, when I was working for some concentrate companies and dabbing like all day for research purposes, of course.
Yeah.
And, you're just smoking flower. You were just smoking.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting anywhere.
No, it's just like continuously smoking and not feeling anything, and that kind of like, why? For the habit of it all, you know what I mean, just to perform your ritual, but that's not really the whole point of smoking weed, is to form a habit, or to, like with cigarettes, like nicotine, like instantly you're addicted because that's just the property of nicotine, and it just becomes a social, it's not medicinally benefiting you, or you might think it's taking away your anxiety, but
it's contributing to.
Haven't you ever seen a Truth commercial? Your THC receptors are kind of being overly saturated and are like, wait, we can't do anymore. We got to go.
We've had enough.
Literally, we've had enough. That's when a tolerance break kind of comes in handy, is when your body is telling you, okay, this isn't really working for us. So it's not a bad thing to build up a tolerance to THC. It's not like you're addicted. You're not going to have to go to rehab and shit. Like, unless you do.
Yeah.
Unless you do. I don't want to judge anybody who goes to rehab for weed, but you'll be okay just by taking a tolerance break. Truly.
Generally. Yes.
Generally.
Of course.
Generally. And we're not doctors. Things are different now. I used to be able to say that with confidence, but I'm seeing a lot of things on the TikTok where kids are feeling like they are desperately addicted to weed. I've been seeing this. I think there's a lot of things that contribute to that. I think one of the things is people telling them that they're addicted to weed, but it's also like they feel like they can't function without dabbing, or they can't function without taking a big edible or whatever. And that will you'll make your tolerance higher, and you will have a psychological addiction, which doesn't mean it's a physical addiction. This is a different thing.
But that is the definition of a psychological addiction.
Exactly. Yeah. It's different, So I just want to try to get that out there. Like, and there's different reasons for tolerance breaks too. Like mine, eventual tolerance break will be a 9-month tolerance break, not by choice. And right now that I'm cutting down because I would like to prepare for that, just in case that happens soon. So that when I was pregnant and I had my brief bout with pregnancy in December, and I had to quit all of the things that I was doing just coldest of turkeys, and it was really uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable. I was taking a lot of edibles. I was smoking a lot of high potency weed, and for 3 days I felt very sick. And I don't think it was pregnancy sick. I think I was weed sick. So yeah, so we'll kind of like, you know, go over some things.
Yeah, they say it is helpful for, even if you're not in it for the long haul, to take a tolerance break of 2 days.
Yeah, sure.
Just take
at least 2 days.
Take 2 days off a week.
Yeah.
And that will help make sure that, you know, you're getting where you need to be. And also, if you're using medicinally, the medicine will still be working efficiently.
Efficiently. To basically, like, to prepare, it's good to have like a little bit of a preparation in mind, you know, just kind of like the next couple weeks I'm going to do something else because my thing is like when I sit down and watch TV with my husband, especially if I watch like a scary movie or a comedy, I want to be fucking high. Like I just do. That's my favorite thing to do. I went to the movies the other day. I wanted to be fucking high. So my hand is like reaching for a joint. You know what I mean? Like I want to reach to my little side table and start to smoke my joint. Instead of that, I have to think of like something else. First, I have to put my weed away because smelling that shit is really hard when you're on a tolerance break.
Oh,
it smells so good.
Yeah. I mean, it's like being in a bakery when you're on a
when
diet.
You're not eating carbs. Yes, exactly. Yes. So that's my first word of advice is just not like a fiendy junkie, you know, no offense to fiendy junkies, just, you know, like put it somewhere where you can't smell it or you don't see it. Because that's the psychological thing. You see it, you're doing a thing where you usually smoke, just like cigarettes. It's the only way it's like cigarettes, is the habit. You know what I mean? People who smoke cigarettes always say, like, when I have my coffee or when I'm driving to work or whatever the fuck cigarette people do. And that's their first step, is to, like, train their mind to not go for it when you're trying to quit. And have, like, a kind of a hard, you know, like, if you know you have a start date, maybe start to do a little tapering. Don't go balls to the wall. Which apparently is an offensive term. Don't go balls to the wall. I just heard that somewhere. Balls to the wall with smoking. Like, don't have a last hurrah because it won't.
Oh,
you know, it's like having a big meal before a diet.
One big smoke sesh before you end it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's the best idea.
No, just, you know, gradually taper yourself off. Smoke a little less. Skip one sesh a day.
Skip one sesh a day.
Couple seshes.
Then make it 2, then make it 3, then make it 4, then make it the whole day. If you're in social situations too, weed is so social for the most part. I mean, not for TS nights all the time, but it is a very social substance. So tell your homies. Just be like, homie, I'm trying to take a quick challenge break. I just need a minute. And that's not to say be like, go step outside. Just like, you know, just so they know. And like, you know, I think like when I told TS that I was like planning on cutting down a little bit, like he hasn't been really, you know, smoking a lot.
I'm in solidarity with you.
You are. I really appreciate that.
When you said you're not going to drink.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm gonna stand with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's it is appreciated because like, and that just shows TS and I are very good close friends, and we don't need drinking and weed to be friends. That's how you know who your homies are. Because we hung out, had a completely sober night, watched The Simpsons, and got some pizza, and
I drank water all day.
Yeah, drink water all day. Usually we have a few shots before the show, some wine, and you know, at least 2 joints before the show, and definitely 2 joints during the show. But
I still have my joint though.
Yes, no, please keep it. That's an old joint though. That's from, you know, whenever we smoked in here last. So yeah, it's good to have your friends be in solidarity with you. Not necessary, you know, but also nice. It's nice and appreciated. So yeah, that's like a good kind of like tip.
Yeah, if your homie wants to take a tolerance break, don't give them a bunch of shit for it.
No, don't give them shit for it. Don't give them shit. You don't have to be in solidarity, but just try to be respectful of everybody's reasons for why they need to take a little tea break. Another thing too is one of like a withdrawal symptom of weed is, I mean, the 2 big ones is the sleeping and the anxiety and the eating. So these are two things that I noticed that I am trying to be on top of. Sleeping. Melatonin had never worked for me in my entire life. In fact, it like gave me nightmares and gave me a headache.
Yeah, me too. Never
worked for me. However, my doctor, because I'm trying to get pregnant, my doctor had suggested a bunch of supplements, and melatonin was one of them. So I've been taking like CoQ10 and a prenatal and vitamin B and vitamin D and fucking acai berry and like all sorts of shit. And one of them was melatonin, which I thought was interesting because I don't take melatonin. And in fact, I probably take others, like I take other sleep aids to sleep along, or I just eat a bunch of edibles. And that's how I fall asleep. And obviously I'm smoking before I go to sleep. And a lot of people smoke to go to sleep. It's a really helpful tool to sleep. So right before bed, like the anxiety of knowing that you're not going to be able to go to sleep is a little stressful. So for me, what I do, because I don't sleep anyway, is I've been taking my stupid melatonin. And honestly, since I've been taking the supplements and like balancing it all out, like it hasn't been like putting me to sleep by any means, but the stress of like, maybe it's just like the habit of like taking something and like knowing I'm taking something. I don't know. Maybe it's psychological. That
may or may not help you.
Yeah.
But you're still
like
taking
placebo.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be that. I don't fucking care. Cause I've had insomnia obviously, cause I always do, but it hasn't been the death of me. Like sometimes when when I go into insomnia spells, like it really does freak me out. But lately, like I've been able to like I'm reading something that's like, to have a routine, have like a bedtime routine. Like I've been taking off my makeup. I've been like washing down, fucking getting my book and putting it to the side, looking at TikTok and like just getting myself a little bedtime thing to distract my need
for the act of smoking.
Exactly. That's been helping me. So if anybody wants to try something like that, don't look at your phone. It's so hard because I look at TikTok to like breathe. So like last night I was just nonstop looking at it. I couldn't sleep. The melatonin obviously didn't work. I didn't smoke before I went to bed or anything. And I was looking at TikTok and my eyes were just like, stop it. Like, stop it. You're not going to sleep if you're looking at your phone. So if you want to look at your phone, maybe do it like an hour before you plan on going to bed.
Yeah, I don't think looking at your phone is necessarily recommended.
It's not. They say don't do it. It's longer than that. I think they say like 3 hours.
Before bedtime. I haven't necessarily taken a tolerance break, but I've been forced to take breaks, and I have to say, like, a forced tolerance break, not being totally prepared, was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
When flying overseas where I couldn't, and it's highly illegal in certain countries, I just didn't even want to risk trying to find any, and certainly didn't fucking bring any with me.
No.
But then not having cannabis for several days,
right,
and being jet lagged and in another country and everything else going on, I started having really horrible, vivid, sort of stressful nightmares,
anxiety dreams. Yeah,
like I would dream that I would lose my passport, or like the band I was working for, like I suddenly forgot to do my entire job, and they'd walk up on stage.
Yeah, there was like there's just like a rug there, for the drums. Yeah,
it's like a drum. Looking at the drum carpet was there, like so.
Oh man, it's so funny how like every person has like their own version of that. Like I used to be a server. I still have dreams that I didn't drop off a check or I didn't close out a check or something. Or I'm on the radio. I still have dead air dreams to this very second of my life. It's funny. Everybody has that version of being naked in school.
Oh, totally.
I love it. But yeah, totally. Well, and I dream even through my heavy weed consumption spells. Like I'm just a dreamer. Like we'll eat 100 milligrams and smoke like 10 blunts a day, and I'll go to bed and be like, yes, I just had the craziest scary dream. He's like, how are you dreaming? Like,
how is this even possible?
So I've never experienced a dreamless sleep really in my life. But I do hear that you don't really dream when you smoke, and it does tend to come back with like a vengeance when you're on a tolerance break. So just kind of like drink some tea, man. Take a bath, like that. Those sorts of like things listen, like this is coming from a very, very nervous couple of people, very, very anxious couple of people. So we're not saying this like it's easy. We're not saying like just fucking chill. Like we understand why you're smoking weed. We get it because we're doing that too. And it's our job also to smoke weed or to be around weed. So trust us. We're not trying to like blow off your things. So yeah, the other thing I was going to say too is eating. So eating for me, eating for me is weird. I like, not because I have any sort of disorder or anything like that. It's just I get hungry at weird times of the day. I get not hungry. I can go for a while without being hungry, but I also can get really hungry. So when I stop smoking, and when you stop smoking, when anybody who stops smoking, if they smoke a lot, your appetite is going to get fucked up. You're going to be nauseous a little bit. Not like you're going to want to vomit or anything, but I just noticed that it was like I was hungry, but food just wouldn't, like I couldn't eat it. You know what I mean? Like
things taste different.
You feel like it's icky. Things smell different also. There's a lot of receptors that cannabis, is working with that if it's not there, those receptors are going to start to bounce around again and light up. And sometimes that's your nausea receptor. Sometimes that's your headache, and that makes it difficult to eat. This article that I'm reading suggests, and I also suggest, like, take a bite of something. That's it. Just please take it. That's what I was doing this week. Like, food was really not my jam. But I knew I was hungry, and like I would take a bite of something, like a yogurt or like a little bit of oatmeal, or like for me those are my comfort foods. Cheese, like a toast is really good for me, but like string cheese is my that is my hyperfixation food when I have. And people with ADD also, like myself, eating is weird for us. So we were very specific with our food.
I always have a little pack of walnuts or cashews or peanuts.
You do, which also is a great idea. That's not on my hyperfixations, but when it is. Like when I'm a nut person, all I'm doing is nuts. Yeah, and that's a perfect snack because it's like really good for you, packed with a bunch of shit, and it will fill you up in a way that you won't really feel shaky or anything like that. And you kind of just want to like do it at like regular times. You want to get yourself into regular eating habits. Again, I have ADD, or
routines help.
Routines help, exactly. And I'm saying this as somebody who doesn't really adhere to that, and it's very difficult for me to do that. I try to eat intuitively, but when my body isn't working intuitively, it's really difficult to do that. And also if you can't eat certain foods sometimes, because of whatever neurodivergence you have, like myself, it's difficult to do that. Weed really helps with that. So just try your best. Celery, carrots, fucking crackers, whatever it is that you can get through to yourself, try to do it at a regular routine, and it will help. You will get through that. And keep yourself busy. Like I like the book option. Every time I feel the book, or honestly like TikTok for my dopamine, or like watching something, like I'll be like, okay, I'm just gonna put on The Simpsons, or I'm just gonna put. And Simpsons is funny because I love to be high watching The Simpsons, right? Like I love to laugh.
Well, it hit that same dopamine response.
Yeah.
You'll get a little boost. Watching The Simpsons.
Yeah. No, and you also just have to know when you're going to experience those like cravings. Like, is it right before dinner time? Is it right before bedtime? Is it like right when you get home from work? Because that's a really great time to want to sit back, relax, and take a hit. If that's the case, figure out something to replace there. Get a cup of coffee, go for a walk, or take a bath. I like the bath option, honestly.
I'm a big
You're
fan
a soaker.
of soaking.
Yeah, you're a big soaker.
Super soaker.
Yeah, and don't worry about it. Like, don't if you get like I was on my couch before and like I had a headache and I was cranky and like my stomach was hurting and I really just didn't want to smoke. Like I gave myself until noon today, which is, I know seems early for most, but I'm a wake and baker, especially on days that I don't work out. And I did, I smelt the weed and I was like, okay, get up, do something, drink some water, and that's really what I've been doing a lot today is like drinking water, which is a good, kind of a decent replacement. I walk the dogs, like just whatever it was. And I would get a strong like whiff of it. Cause like my apartment is saturated in weed. So, it's there, but it was just kind of like plowing through those really uncomfortable moments is, and I'm not cold turkey. Yeah. I'm not there yet. Hopefully I will be soon. But I think like I'm trying to tell myself, I'm trying to be like gentle on myself and be like, you were smoking like 4 joints a day and you've only smoked a bowl so far today. So I think that's pretty good.
That's good. Slowly tapering is probably the best way for people like us to accomplish a tolerance break. Like cold turkey, that shit's just not going to work for either of us.
No.
What? Okay, so there's this other down. It says try replacing with CBD.
I don't recommend that personally, but I've seen that before. I have seen that before. I feel like Riley may have touched on that on one of her things. I don't know. I mean, it's still
like maybe as part of like tapering down,
right, exactly.
you would do
maybe replace
you do like a
2 to 1,
2 to 1.
Yeah, I agree.
Work your way to a 20 to 1, and then
you're trying to reset your receptors. So in order to and reset your cannabinoid system. So in order to do that, CBD is still cannabis.
Still works on those receptors.
Yeah, exactly. It's still cannabis in a way. So I would say maybe exactly like you said. So like every gradual increment, maybe instead of smoking, a bowl of regular weed, you get it like a CBD vape or take a CBD gummy or something like that, like at night, if that's when you consume your weed or something like that. But I would say if you're trying to take a full tolerance break, take the full tolerance break. And that's coming from me. So yeah, I that's just my opinion. I like this too. Like this is like treat yourself at the end of each tea.
Oh yeah,
I like that. Because I spend a lot of money on weed. I sure do.
So watch that bank account get fatter.
For realsies, I mean, you notice. You really notice when like when you're working at a dispensary and you're not spending money on weed. It's really it makes a difference. Weed is very expensive this day and age. So yeah, like it's totally doable. And if a person like me is saying that, if people like TS and I are saying that, like we're not taking it lightly. We're not like just like but like we know how hard it is. We know how hard it is to eat, to sleep, to live, to find happiness, to do anything that weed helps us do. But a few days, a few months.
You got this.
Yeah. No, yeah. Definitely. It's totally doable. It really is. And if you're a person who's planning on getting pregnant, I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff that I'm finding out. We'll have some people on who've done things before, and there is an end in sight. If you don't have an allergy to weed or CHS or anything like that, you can always start smoking again. You really can. So you just know that like it's going to come again. It has some pretty great benefits to taking a tolerance break, and that first hit after a tolerance break is just pure fucking euphoria. Like it's better than any other drug in the world.
Well, yes, when I come and see you after you give birth and I hand you the bong in your hospital bed that I've smuggled in, you are going to be so lit.
I'll be so litty titty.
I'll be holding the baby and I'll hand you the bong.
I'll be like, thanks, buddy. Uncle Starseed brought the bong. I did actually see, I read a post of a woman who had a baby, and in their go bag, her husband brought gummies. So like when, I think she had a natural birth. And like afterwards it's like, oh God, it's a rough period for the body. So she just like took like 2 gummies and was like so happy. Like just like she was recovering. She was.
Spouse of the Year award right there.
Right?
Packing gummies in the pregnancy
go bag.
Go bag.
Yep. I was like, that's actually a really good idea. Like if you're, comfortable with that, because breastfeeding and all that stuff, but which we won't have to get into right now because a lot of people take weed when they're breastfeeding. But if that's something that you're not comfortable with, obviously don't do that. But this really worked for this woman. She was like, I had never been more chill in a hospital in my life. So I love it. That's our little tea break sitch there. I think if you're planning on doing it, it's totally cool, totally okay. Kevin Smith is doing it apparently. I don't know if he's ever going to go back to weed, but he hasn't been smoking weed for 6 weeks now. And if Kevin Smith can do it, you can do it. We're going to take a quick break. Okay, we'll be right back.
Yeah. We want to thank you so much for being a beautiful audience. Thank you very much. We'll be back real soon. Y'all take care and remember, unity forever, please.